a man you know. He says the U.S. military is ready to go and launching some sort of strikes against Syria. What do you think? Is this a smart idea?
Well, I'm sure they're ready to go, and I think it's not a very smart idea. The number one threat to the United States in the Middle East is Iran. We've now spent several years chasing after Libya, chasing after Egypt. Now we're going to chase after Syria. None of them are mortal threats to the United States, but an Iranian nuclear weapon is. Furthermore, if we fire off 10, 15, 20, 30 Tomahawks, the question becomes, and then what? We won't have eliminated Assad's chemical capacity. We will probably have enraged the Russians. We may well increase the amount of supplies that the Russians send to the Syrians. There's no policy, there's no strategy behind this kind of feel-good emotionalism. And yes, we have a lot of power, but using it blindly, I think, is not a good idea.
Well, listen to John McCain, the senator from Arizona, the Republican presidential nominee back in 2008. Listen to what he said.
The President of the United States over a year ago said that if Bashar Assad used chemical weapons, it crosses a red line. We know for sure that he's used them at least once. Now here's the second time. Horrific, horrific. And if the United States stands by and doesn't take very serious action, not just launching some cruise missiles, then again our credibility in the world is diminished even more, if there's any left.
So what do you say to Senator McCain?
Well, I'd work backwards from his final comment, if there's any left. Very, very few Americans are prepared to wage a Syrian campaign, which it sounds to me is what John McCain is describing. I don't know of hardly any American who believes that coming out of Iraq, which, by the way, had 97 people killed this weekend. Think about that. This campaign that was supposedly a success, 97 Iraqis were killed this weekend, still occupied in Afghanistan, watching the mess in Libya, trying to help in Mali, looking at Egypt in chaos. I mean, the idea that we should go out and take on Syria next, I just think, is gross overextension.
So the U.S. should just simply let the slaughter. More than 100,000 Syrians have already been killed over the past 2.5 years. Let the slaughter go on?
Well, the bomb that was set off in Boston was set off by a Chechen. Between 1999 and 2007, the Russians killed between 100,000 and 300,000 Chechen civilians. The truth is we don't know the accurate number. I think it's very selective morality to say this is the one we're going to work on because this is this week's headline. I think that the region is a mess. I think we need a decisively new strategy, and I think randomly firing off missiles is not a strategy. It's just an act of public relations.
But if the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, if his regime goes down, wouldn't that be a really serious blow to Iran, which you see as a much more serious threat to the U.S. in the region?
Sure, but other than John McCain, who is suggesting that we undertake enough activity to bring the regime down? We're not prepared to arm the rebels because we now have discovered that most of the rebels are Islamic radicals, including Al-Qaeda. So, there are no good guys available in Syria right now. The Russians are clearly prepared to back Assad, he and his father have been friends of Russia since 1970. And this idea that I saw in one article that we're going to shame Putin, people need to get in their heads. Putin was a senior KGB official. It's impossible to shame him. He's going to do what he thinks in a cold, calculating way is in Russia's best interest, and he clearly does not think allowing the United States to defeat Assad is in Russia's best interest.